Hi there and welcome to the Wednesday show on This Is Ibrox. I'm joined by two fantastic guests as always. Firstly, it's a man that was just shown off his Polish street sign for last night. It's Kyran Wallace. How are you doing, Kyran?
I'm doing well, I'm doing excellent. And we were also just saying that this pod was 3 seconds away from being completely negative, but we're going to be positive tonight, aren't we?
Well, that's it. We'll try and be as positive as we can. And Iain, as Kyran just touched there, I think you were about 2 seconds away from doing a really bad pod yesterday, but it turned out to be not too bad. How's yourself today?
Yeah, there's nobody happier than we got a last minute goal than me and being back to back on the pod. So yes, glad to be here. Good to chat a bit more positively about Rangers for once.
Well, that's it, exactly. Look, on today's show, plenty to discuss as always. We'll chat about what the team did well last night. We'll talk about that reaction to the lineup versus how the game ended, discuss the impact of Jefté, Černý and Sterling. That's something that I'm always sometimes critical, sometimes positive about Clement as his substitutions, but I thought he got that really, really spot on last night. We'll talk about the importance of wingers in this system and how it makes a difference having direct players in this sort of 4-2-3-1 system. We'll talk about the fans need to be more patient with this rebuild. Interestingly, John Moss was appointed the SFA's first VAR manager. We'll get the guy's thoughts on that. Leo Castledine, I'm going to go with, has been linked with Rangers. I've seen this a post somewhere today that Chelsea have got like 20 first team central midfielders, so there's no chance of him getting on their books anytime soon, looking to accommodate a loan for him. And then we'll get the guys' thoughts on the first home game shaping up at Hampden. Listen, we'll get straight into it. Iain gave us a bit of his thoughts last night, so Kyran, what was your overall thoughts on that game last night?
I thought it was a lot better than what I was expecting. I think I wrote in the chat that before the game, my expectation was 0. So we were doing a lot better than what I expected. But listen, it's positive. It's a positive result for us. I said in the pod on Sunday night when we were doing the predictions that I would take one each and one each bringing it back alive to Glasgow, knowing that we could take them. My takeaway after the game, having watched the game, was that they were there for the taking and we have got absolutely nothing to be scared about. And no slight on that team. It's a team that's starting to come together and it'll gel and it'll improve. But a good, solid, settled Rangers side walks all over the top of them. I know there was a lot of hysteria around them winning 9-2 in aggregate against Zagreb, but that's not what I was expecting to see last night. So I'm delighted with one each and bring it back to Glasgow and fingers crossed we can finish the job off.
Yeah, that's certainly something we'll get to later on in the podcast if we think Rangers have got enough in the tank to do the job at Hampden. That's all I've been doing all day is practicing saying Hampden instead of Ibrox. I even went over to Ibrox today just because I was missing the place so much. So, Iain, same question to you. You changed your thoughts on last night. Have you seen anything different that, you know, have you changed the way you think about things? Are you still very similar to how you felt last night about it?
Probably much the same, to be honest. I've seen you guys before we went live. There was a few comments on the video last night that we were too negative and weren't getting behind the team enough, which I don't think we were trying to be in any way. It's just the fact that if that last minute goal hadn't gone in, it would have been a very different pod and a very different feeling among the fans because, as Kyran says, they were there for the taking. We as bad as we are just now and how much trouble we're in just now, and that's all we kind of read about, we were probably the better team overall, I think. And as I say, Kiev were nothing special at all. Obviously bigged up about that 9-2 result, which we scored 9 goals in Europe. You're going to get a bit of a, oh God, what are we playing here? But as Kyran said, I thought they were for the taking. I thought we could have been a bit better on the ball. I think for once off the ball, we were pretty decent in terms of pressing and kind of hustling them a bit, which was great to see. But on the ball, just so many sloppy passes and stuff that if we had got that equaliser a bit earlier, I could have seen us going and win that game. But pre-game, if you offer me a draw, take that all day. So overall, positive.
Well, that's it. Listen, I'll stick with you, Iain, here and ask you this question. And again, I'll keep it. There's Ross saying I'm feeling positive today, guys. I promise. That was me subconsciously clicking on that there as well. But what did Rangers do well yesterday? Where were the things that you thought that's something that we should be taking forward into the next game?
Probably more the off the ball stuff. As I said before, the press was much better than it's been in recent games because the thing that's been killing me for weeks and probably months with this team, even before at the end of last season, is we seem to be a very easy team to play and an easy team to get through. And their goal was kind of proof of that, to be honest, with the 2-3 mistakes for individuals in there. But I think we were quite solid overall, and sort of looking at the game back, looking at highlights back, Butland had very little to do, to be honest. There was a couple of saves, he pushed the ball away, but you look at Dessers' header for a chance, you look at a couple of other opportunities we definitely had the better of the chances that came out during the game. So, like I say, off the ball was a big improvement, which is beautiful to see for once. As I say, I think on the ball still a good way to go, but hopefully once the team gels a bit more, maybe get a bit more quality in there, whether it is 2 or 3 signings to come in, there's at least the positive feeling about the team. And as I say, it's just something we've not had for a good number of weeks now.
Yeah, and Kyran, I'll ask a similar question to yourself. What did Rangers do well that impressed you? Was it the press? Did that impress you? Do you think that was better than the Hearts game, or did you see other aspects of the match yesterday that you thought we should be continuing doing that going forward?
I think off the back of the Hearts game, a lot of folk were critical of the players don't really know the plan. It doesn't look like there's a cohesion there where guys know what their job is. Last night was the opposite. I felt like you touched on it there, we pressed well. I felt like, how many times did you see like their centre-back try and play the ball to full-back and just completely put it out of play, or their goalkeeper putting it out of play in these positions and winning the ball high up the park? It was good to see how positive we were. We were all very negative about the team lineup. I think absolutely every single Rangers fan would have been. But when the players went out in the park, they gave 100%. At times it was ugly. Second half, much better. But in terms of individuals, Barron's going to be a fan's favourite. You can just tell that right away. And I think that comes from that sort of Dujon Stelling way where he's nipping at heels, he's winning the ball high up the park, he's solid in the tackle. That's the type of player we love. And you know what? There was a passage in the first half last night where I think the ball went from Diamande to Barron, and it looked like he could play the simple ball out to the left wing, and he just sort of shuffled back inside, ball into the feet of the striker, and I think we created a chance from it. How many times did we watch John Lundstrom last year just go side to side, ball to centre back, not really take an onus? See, when I seen him do that, I thought, that is a boy that's beyond his years. He's shown a lot of responsibility there in a high pressure match where he's trying to dictate the game. And what excites me most about him is how good can we make him? How much better can he get? And it's very much a positive. And I'm sure we'll get on to Jefté soon when we discuss the second half. So yeah, for me, there's plenty of positives to take from last night without anybody being completely outstanding. Let's keep it within context. But it's good to have a bit of feel good again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's amazing what a goal can do for a football team, isn't it? And change everybody's perspective and mentality on it. But yeah, I completely agree with you there. What I'm looking for was progression happens incrementally. It happens that way across all walks of life. And okay, was the level of opposition the same as Hearts yesterday? I was maybe expecting something a bit better from Kiev, given the way that they absolutely battered Partizan Belgrade in the game before. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I think it was better than the Hearts game, put it that way, and that's what I'm looking for. Kyran, I'll stick with you here as well. I'll maybe take it back a step and say, what did you make of the reaction to the team lineup yesterday? Because that was the second match in a row that the fans, I think, quite rightly have gone, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Is it right that we have that reaction given how the game finished up?
It is, but again, what has Clement got to work with? He's working with a really, really tight squad of players that aren't quite fit in terms of Černý and Pröpper that have just come in the door. They're not quite settled. Danilo is just back for a long-term injury. It looks like we're really taking the time with him. You've got Matondo, who couldn't trap a bag of sand. Who else? Dujon Stelling's just back from an injury. So really, what did they have to work with there? So he's working with what he's got and what he can do. We're bringing substitutes on in the second half. And I'll tell you something, he got his substitutes absolutely bang on. Full credit to Clement, right? There's been a lot of hate and negativity towards him, and I don't know if it's just social media hysteria where people are trying to get engagement and likes, but Clement is the most stable thing at our club, and we must stick by him. And if last night is anything to go by, he's going to do well. You look now, okay, his first game was Sparta Prague away, sorry.
Yep.
Turns out a draw when we were on the ropes there. Then Betis away, beat them 3-2. They hadn't been beat at home in 18 months, and they had drawn with Real Madrid at the weekend. They then went away to Benfica, carved out a draw in Benfica, a very, very good performance as well. And he's just went and done that against Kiev with that starting lineup. Now, come on, the guy deserves a lot of credit for it. I think just when things aren't going quite as well as what we want them to go, then it's all, he's not got a style of play, and that's all the things we can throw at him. But no, he's a very, very good manager, and he's going to prove it. Maybe we get through this round, the next round's a step too far. Let's remember we're in a rebuild here. Let's be realistic. I think our fans aren't very good for that. It's going to be there's still a chance it'll be a tough season, but put trust in it, be patient, it'll come. Another couple of signings, and I think we'll be looking a lot stronger.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be what the comments are saying here. I'll just read a few of them out. CGM55 says, the starting 11 was wrong. We were right to be critical, but Clement changed it, so credit is due. Bluebell says, credit to Clement, my backside. Those new signings are as fit as anyone else at the club. They should be playing. And Robert Robertson says, surely even Clement can now see that Wright is just so wrong. His stats on Saturday were pish, and last night was even worse. Iain, is this just something that as fans we are going to maybe have to accept, certainly for the next few weeks? Clement strikes me as that type of guy that listens to his medical team, isn't going to integrate these guys into the squad straight away. But are we just going to have to get used to this? And do you still think that Clement made the wrong selection in terms of his starting 11 last night?
It does sound a little backwards now because we got a great result, but I still kind of agree with CGM there. I think the starting 11 was wrong. I think Scott Wright shouldn't be starting games for Rangers, and I know the alternatives are your Matondos or your half-fit guys, but I'd be starting one of those half-fit guys and just seeing how they got on. I know it's a bit risky given the Cortez situation that we just saw the weekend before, but it's just Scott Wright isn't going to do it for us. I kind of see the thinking that he's maybe thinking he'll try and affect the game later in the game when the guys that are coming on, which obviously worked. So, I mean, as we're saying, fair play to Clement for getting it right in the end and getting a good result. But when I saw it starting 11, I was generally thinking, right, this is going to be, I think we all said it in the chat, it's a very difficult next hour and a half. Let's just grit our teeth, try and get through it. So to come away with that draw is insane. Looking back to that exact moment I saw that team. But yeah, still a few question marks in the starting lineup. Still a lot of things I wouldn't be doing, but Clement knows a hell of a lot better than me, clearly.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't know if that was in his plan. Having listened to him at press conferences and the way he's been after matches and stuff like that, he's very much a 90 minutes manager. I don't know if fans just see it as like two halves, like the first half was rubbish, the second half was better. I just think he's a very good at seeing the sort of bigger picture. Here, do you think going forward that in fact, scrap that, what I've just said there. We'll come on to substitutions. I've just read my notes and I'm just going to ask you the exact same question I've just asked you there before, Kyran, so we'll dingy that. Sometimes I've been critical on the manager's substitutions. We've already touched on it a wee bit here. In 45 minutes, he took Wright off for Jefté, put him on. He took McCausland off, who I actually didn't think had a bad game yesterday. I felt that shot that he had in the first half, that was a really good... it was really unlucky not to score it, but he came off for Černý around the 60-minute mark, which is obviously something we've seen. That's the medical team saying that Černy's only got 60 minutes in him. But I was a bit confused at this at the time. Barron coming off around 71 minutes, that was when I sort of got into my house and tuned into the game, and I was a bit like, why the hell is he taking Barron off? But again, having watched the game back, he looked knackered after coming off at that point. And then Diomande come off for Kieran Dowell. Kyran, you messaged me this yesterday, I think just not that long after full time had finished, but you said, can we talk about Jefté? So yeah, let's talk about Jefté and that Rangers team yesterday. He, for me, made a big difference when he came on.
Absolutely, and he came on and I felt like he offered a directness. He gave us an out ball. His delivery into the box was outstanding. I don't know who posted it earlier, but credit to them. His cross completion was 44%. I think you compare that to Tavernier yesterday, and he's like, that sounds low, but Tavernier's average last year was 29%. He's probably the best crosser in our team. So it was good to see a left footer on the left, put it that way, because usually we're used to modern football where right-footed players play on the left and left-footed players play on the right. It just offered us that directness, and I think it's once again a wee reminder that we're going to have to be patient with these guys. Jefté's 20, and a lot of people were completely writing him off after the Union Berlin and I think it was the Man United friendlies, where he didn't do so good defensively. But again, credit to Clement. That's a left back we've just put in at left mid because we're really tight for options there, considering the Cortez injury. And I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was excellent. And the good thing about Ridvan and Jefté on that left-hand side is they can both go inside. You've seen it a couple of times that they went inside. I think you've seen it for the goal, actually. Jefté looked like he was pedalling down the left, took a wee touch to the inside and then floated the ball over to Černý. I mean, that's quite hard for defenders to defend against when they're up against a guy who's completely left-footed and they think he's going to go out down the outside every time. So for me, it's something we've been crying out for in a while, and I think it's something that folk liked Sterling on the right for when we played him on the right wing. That quite pacey, quite direct, decent enough right foot. But it's good to see Jefté have a good game. He was due it, and let's be honest, right? He's going to have many more bad games after this, but he's going to improve. He's a young player who's just moved to another country and he's adjusting to things, and I can't see him being a starter just yet, but that performance yesterday is going to go a long way for him, and we've now got another option at left wing.
Yeah, it's something that in pre-season, I think it's safe to say he hadn't really impressed me from a defensive point of view, but I don't think that was, which is mental saying that for a left back, that defending wasn't one of his key attributes. But we have had James Tavernier on the right, which defending is not one of his key attributes. It is attacking and going forward. So I can already see that 5 at the back going across Ian's eyes as we speak there. But Iain McCutcheon...
Sorry to butt in. Did you see Jefté in the celebrations? He was absolutely loving it, man. You love to see that.
That was absolutely fantastic to see, and so it should be, because he played an important part in the build up to that goal. But again, we'll come on to that later. Another Iain McCutcheon here says the substitution of Jefté for right influenced our second half performance. It's really, really hard to disagree with that. GB in here says Jefté and Ridvan on the left wing together excites me. He has to be an option for us going forward. How impressed were you with him yesterday? And I'm trying not to get carried away here. It's just there's been so few positives this season. I know we're going to have to give him a few games to settle in. I'm not saying he's the next Roberto Carlos or anything like that, but I was pleasantly surprised when he came on how much he influenced that game and how direct he was.
Massively, yeah. Excuse me. I think when we all were signing Jefté and we were linked with him back in like the winter time, the sort of start of the year, you obviously do the YouTube clips, you see what he's about. The player that we saw in the YouTube clips is who we saw last night, which was exciting to see. The guy who's confident on the ball, runs at players, takes them on, takes the risky ball, takes the risky cross kind of thing. And it's just something we've never had at left wing as far as I can remember. Like, look at our left wing options, this season and last season, in terms of like Matondo, Sima, Silva, McCausland, Wright. They are all right-footed, so they're all naturally going to come in. So to have someone just go, no, put him a left, cross it in. It's very like old school football. I think for a lot of players, like you said before, it's not a common sight these days. It's always these inside forwards, inside wingers kind of thing. But a guy's just quite happy to get in the box. Your strikers are going to love that. And clearly, I think he made a few more chances, other than obviously setting up Černý towards the end. So all for it. And I think he also helped Ridvan defensively, who, I said it last night, had quite a tough game. Ridvan on the ball, he was quite poor. Off the ball, he wasn't dominated in any way, but he was kind of getting taken advantage of his height once or twice. So the fact Hefty's 6'2", pacey, powerful. I can see the comment there saying left back, left wing being Ridvan Jefté makes sense. It's exciting. I'm all for it, to be honest. I'm not going to spoil my team for Motherwell just yet, but I'd be quite keen on seeing that develop and kind of progress, because we touched on it defensively. Still a big question mark there. Domestically is probably fine, but a European game, I'm not confident Hefty's the left back going forward, but if he can offer what he showed in that second half last night, he's definitely got a place in this team for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Maybe defensively, especially in Europe, not a concern, but he wouldn't be first choice for left back. But seeing the league against your sort of bottom six teams, I think he's the perfect cover. You want in there if you're giving Ridvan a rest or whatever. But look, a few comments in here. Look, Gibson 97 says Yilmaz at left back and Jefté ahead of him. I think that's what the fans might be crying out to see going forward. Bluebells are blue. As one of our subscribers said, Jefté should have started. So many fans were saying he should be the backfill after Cortez got injured, but for some reason, PC thought Wright was the answer. And the last comment here, Scott B says night and day with Jefté and Wright. Iain, I'll stick with you here as well. Václav Černý, I know I was messaging you after the match yesterday as well, talking about this man here. I actually thought that he had not a good game up until this point. Felt that he was giving the ball away, felt that everything he was doing, it just wasn't quite coming off. I think I even said to you, I can now see why this guy's only been getting the last half hour, 35 minutes of matches, but ultimately he had provided the bit of quality that made the difference. What did you make? Do you agree with me in terms of as harsh as I was on his performance last night, or do you think otherwise?
I probably couldn't go against you, to be honest, because he was poor. Wasn't so good in terms of passing, which I think against Hearts he did have a couple of nice passes and was linking up with Tav quite well, whereas last night it just wasn't coming off for him. But you do have to think he's been at the club for like a week. He's probably trained with the guys 2 or 3 times at this point. Doesn't really know his teammates too well and putting it in the right place kind of thing, or judging runs and stuff like that. So I'll cut him a big bit of slack on that. But as I touched on last night, no other player, no other winger in our club makes that cross. That just doesn't happen. So that one bit of quality, if it's like 20, 30 bad passes and bad touches, to then give that bit of quality, it proves its worth straight away. So I'm more than happy with him in terms of giving him the time to bed in, get to know his teammates, just show what he can do, get more fit. Because, I mean, I know he was at the Euros, but I think he played like 20-odd minutes at it in total, and then he's not kicked a ball otherwise since the end of last season. So he has come in very, don't say unsharp, but he's not sharp, basically. So it's going to take a bit of time to get up to speed, and I'm pretty confident once it does click and once he gets to know the runs, the movements, the passes of his teammates, I can only see him going one way, and that's going to be a massive help for us. I mean, I touched on our left winger issue in my last comment. Our right wing issue is famously bad for the last few years, and I'm not going to say since Candeas, but some people will. So it's been a number of years since we had anyone at right wing that I'm confident with and happy with, and I'm not saying Černy's done enough to prove he's that guy, but I'm more confident him starting there than anyone else in our squad at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. Kyran GB here says, great cross. He took such a rubbish first touch though, but but I think that's just summed up Rangers so far this season. I think the goals we scored against Union Berlin at the end of it was real bits of quality. The goal we scored against Ajax was a good bit of quality from Tom Lawrence. And yesterday it seemed to be a bit of that. Some of the touches are absolutely atrocious. Some of the passing has been pretty poor this season, but if you just put a wee bit of quality on it, something might come from it at the end. But what did you think of Václav Černy's performance yesterday? Are you in agreement with me in terms of, again, not slaughtering him, but just saying, it wasn't working in that 30 minutes he played, and are you looking forward to seeing him in a Rangers shirt in the future?
Yeah, I think again he's got to sort of bed himself in. He's going to take time to settle. I think you can see the qualities there given that cross, and I hope that really gets his confidence up, because I think that can go a long way for a winger. We know what we're going to get with regards to his left foot, and we know he's got goals in him. His stats are pretty good before he came here, so I think that's what we're looking for from him, is numbers and having a natural right-sided player in front of Tavernier, which I think could make all the difference. But there's work to be done there, not just as an individual, but playing in that team, playing in Clermont's system as well. I think he touched on that in the post-game interview. where he was kind of saying, like, there's a lot of players left, there's a lot of new players come in, and it will take time for it all to come together. And he did say, you'll not see the best, not last night, obviously, but he said, you'll not see the best of this team till October, November. I do believe that. Like, it's not the best place to live and die by that at Rangers, because every game has to be won in our eyes, but I do believe that will happen. I think Černý will be a key part of that as well. And like you said at the top of the show, McCausland, I think, done okay on the right. He had a decent enough game. The one he's hit the post was very much like the one he scored at Tynecastle the last game of last season, where he's cut inside and curled it in with his left. So I think Černý, again, another quality option. He's maybe not shown it yet, but it'll take time. And I'm hopeful once we work out how he plays as well, because for us, when was the last time we played with a left footer on the right? Because it's been McCausland for the whole of last season, and then even before that, we were pretty much struggling in that set. It was a mixture of Hadji and just whoever else we could throw in there. So
yeah,
we'll get used to him as much as he'll get used to us. But nothing to really impress me apart from that cross last night. That was pinpoint accuracy in the dying minutes. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was. I genuinely, apart from Hearts, I could not remember the last time we scored a goal that late on in a game. So it was nice to see, and certainly something we'll come on to in the future. But listen, just getting some of the listeners and the viewers' comments on Černý here. Ian McCutcheon says, Černý still not up to speed in his pre-season training. Give him another 3 weeks and he will be up to speed. Adamski152 says, not seen much of the pace or shooting ability Černý has shown previously. Still very early on, so hope to see some of it in the next week. Jim backs. On you go, Ian.
Could I just make a point about that comment about him not having a pre-season? I don't know if you guys have listened to Stick to Football this week when they were discussing like what it's like to miss a pre-season, and they were all in agreement that it is such a struggle through the season if you miss pre-season. I don't think we put enough emphasis on that. So for guys that come in and they've missed a pre-season and they're trying to get up to speed, I think it's a lot harder than what we know. Is like, we're not professional football players, but when you hear guys like Gary Neville and Roy Keane, who have played all their days at the highest level, and Ian Wright, all agreeing that it is very tough to get up to speed when you miss a pre-season. It's a lot bigger thing than we actually know.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's none of us can imagine what that must be like. But I suppose it's like if you took anybody out their work for 8-10 weeks or something like that and had a break and then put them straight back into their work, it would take them a while to get back up to that, mental sharpness to do it. So I suppose it's the exact same thing. Jim Backs here says Černý needs to get match fit, and the Blue Bells are blue. Says can't really criticise Černý when PC has him playing a winger role. He's a traditional touchline winger. If you don't let him do what he's good at, I'm not sure why we brought him in. But fun enough, that's definitely something we'll come on to talk about shortly. But Kyran, I'll stick with you in terms of this next question here. There was a comment, if I can just find it. CGM55 says, we still have a massive problem what to do with Sterling. At the moment, I would play him in the midfield, but then Tav plays. So play him at right back and you're short in the midfield. Make a decision. What did you think of Dujon Sterling when he came on in that midfield yesterday?
Delighted to see him. I thought he done excellent. I thought he brought energy at the right time in the game. We were really needing it in there. Diamande and Barron had ran their socks off, covered every blade of grass in the pitch, and Sterling was just the perfect ploy to bring in there. And I think there is a clamouring for Sterling, Diamande and Barron to be the middle three there, with Diamande being the one that's pushing on. But I do wholeheartedly agree with that. We need to find a position. I think he's our biggest prospect at the moment, the player we're most likely to make a lot of money on if we can progress him the way that we should. Again, though, he's got to hold his side of the bargain. He's got to stay injury-free and keep fit. And for me, looking at the weekend, I would probably try and rotate him into right-back, or maybe even give Tavernier an hour and look to be playing Sterling in the middle come next week. I don't think that will happen, though. I think that's just make-believe in my head right now that that's what I would want to see. I don't think Clement would actually do that. So for me, I said coming into this season that Sterling should be our right-back no matter what. Tavernier should be moved on. Tav might still move on. I'm not sure if that will actually happen. But in terms of Sterling, I don't see him as a centre mid. I see him as a right back. But I do like seeing him at centre mid because of the jobs that he's done in there when he's been asked to play there. So, yeah, for me, I do really agree. He needs his position. He can't just be the utility man anymore. For me, it's right back, but that'll be held up, and I think that's one of the things with Tavernier staying, and I was pretty vocal about it in the chat. That's an issue because it stunts the development of Sterling there, that he's not playing his natural position and not playing his natural position for us, because I think we would be a lot more solid defensively. And let's see how brave Clement can be and dropping Tavernier if he has to, or resting him, so to speak.
I just realised I've muted myself there. Resting him is the more sort of friendly way of saying that there. But yeah, there's a few comments coming in here. Sobo says Sterling brings energy and no fear to the midfield, and Luke Gibson, something's very similar. Sterling, Diomande and Barron would offer so much energy. That was actually the substitution that I thought we were going to see yesterday when Dujon Sterling was on the touchline. I thought that he'd be coming on for perhaps a Tom Lawrence. Diomande would have slotted into that 10 role, and I would have loved to have seen Dujon Sterling and Connor Barron with the types of players that they are in the middle of the field. But what would you do, Ian? Would you rather have Sterling playing at right back or in the middle of the pitch? And I suppose that tells you everything you need to know, because see, when he was lining up to come on, I had no idea who was coming off. It could have been about 5 players.
I'm sure the commentator said that as well. Like, here's Sterling coming, but who knows where he's going? And it's so true. Ideally, we'd have like 4 of them, to be honest, and just try and plug gaps everywhere. But in terms of the long-term thinking, I think it all depends what more we do in the transfer market, to be honest, because if we bring in that 6 or that other centre mid that we're all kind of pining for and been wanting for a while, then Sterling just comfortably goes to right back, shares that slot with Tav, keeps the load off each other. Obviously, game to game, you can kind of judge that, whether it's a domestic game, might suit Tav a bit more attacking, whereas a game like last night, a game in Europe, you're going to want that solid right back in there, which Sterling's built for. So there is the potential that's kind of long-term thinking, but I don't know. I think before the season kicked off, I was with Kyran. I wanted Sterling as the right back and Tav to kind of leave, to be honest. But I don't think it's happening now. And I think with the limited options we have in centre mid, it has to be a centre midfielder just now. You guys both touched on it. I think him and Barron is a nice little combo in there. Whether it's a bit too defensive for home league games, that's a bit of a different issue. I don't know if we have enough control in there. It kind of goes back to that Raskin-Lundstrom issue where they may both try to do the same job a little bit too much, but maybe Barron has a bit more to him, like passing wise and forward play, which we mentioned as well. So there's definitely a potential for that. My big thing is just giving the ball to Diomande in a position that he can hurt teams, because he seems like the one for me. He didn't have the best game last night. He was quite poor against Hearts, so he's not maybe had the moments so far that we'll kind of think and hope he can do, but I think he's the star of this team. So my thing would be like put him where he wants to be and just build around that, whether it is putting the 2 guys behind him to do all the kind of dirty work and win the ball back to then let him be freer up there. I would just be doing everything to focus the whole team around Diomande at this point. I think he's the one that can really drive us forward, can be sold for upwards of your 10, 15 millions kind of thing in a few years' time. So whatever works to get Diomande better is where I would put Sterling, which sounds a bit daft, but I think I see my own logic at least.
Yeah. No, for what it's worth, I agree with you. Doon here says, personally, I play Sterling right back, centre mid, right wing, right mid, left back, all the positions, and goalkeeper if he could as well. So yeah, if we could get a wee corner machine there, that would be brilliant. Kyran, I'll ask you, seeing as there's a bit of chat about it in the comments, given the players that we've got in the team at the minute, assuming we're not going to buy any more central midfielders, what's your preferred trio in midfield? And by that, I'm going to assume we're playing that 4-2-3-1. I'm talking about the 10 and the 2 players and just sitting in front of the defence. What would your trio be?
My trio would be the one I just said: Sterling, Barron, Diomande, with Diomande the one further forward. Not so much as a 10. I think I'd more have him as an 8, a sort of box to box, because I don't know what it is. I think Lawrence is a good player. I don't think he suits the system whatsoever and what we're trying to do, and we lack a bit with Lawrence in there, and we really need a major upgrade in terms of if we move on Cantwell and Hadji, then Lawrence isn't exactly known for his fitness and playing 60 games a season. So we're going to need an upgrade in there, and probably one that should play ahead of Lawrence. I know that Clement absolutely loves him. So in terms of my trio in there, it would be Sterling, Barron, Diamande. And if it's not Sterling, I wouldn't be opposed. I said it the other night to seeing Raskin and Barron in there. I think they would be a very, very good pair. They're very alike. They're very much the same in terms of how they get about the field. They're busy enough, and you add that in with Diamande, then that would be a very hard three to play against. So there is options, but we're still short. We still need to sign at least one centre mid. I'd probably say a 6 and a 10. It has to be the priority next. Because look again last night, we've touched on it a couple of times. Diamande was dead in his feet. He actually took a couple of sore ones towards the end of the game, and Barron as well. He looked very tired. The two of them have played a lot of minutes throughout pre-season and against Hearts as well. So maybe see a wee bit of rotation there come Saturday. I'm not so sure if we can rotate in there at the moment, or just got to wait and see how the game goes. But for me, we definitely need other options in there.
Yeah, well, the one name I'm seeing not mentioned or saying that they won't play him is Ian McCutcheon says Lawrence has no stamina, and Luke Gibson says something similar, saying you lose legs in the midfield / attack by playing Lawrence. Look, I think the next point I'll come on to is the man who scored the goal. He's been under much scrutiny, especially on this podcast. I actually thought his post-match reaction was his post-match interview was pretty good on RTV. He must have been, swaggering along right up to the interviewer to talk to that one. But he says, I think this goal is a very good statement, and I think this could change the momentum, not only in this tie, but hopefully for us also in the next coming weeks. We've been working hard, and maybe you don't see the results immediately on the pitch, but there's been a lot of work, and moments like this can turn around and switch things. Hopefully things start falling our way right now, and I think you saw as well after the whistle how they went in. They were not happy, and let's hope that late goal changed the momentum in this tie. Ian, do you think this could change the momentum not only in this tie but for Rangers season? Is this something that we must not cling to but really try and take as much of the positives out as possible?
Yeah, definitely, because I think there's a big difference in how the fans are now going to turn up at the weekend, and then likewise again for the home leg at Hampden there. So the fact that the players are always going to thrive off us a little bit, and everyone's going to have a bit of a more positive feeling, I guess, because of that goal. It sounds a bit silly because it's only one goal, but it's just sort of, I would say, put as favourites for the tie at this point. It gives everyone that bit of belief. It's obviously a good goal, which is obviously so nice to see from us doing. The Dessers thing, it's annoying how lovable he is, because I kind of want to hate him, but I don't have it in me to do it. He bugs me and stuff, but I don't think you can really have a fault with the guy, because he is obviously trying his best. He's always available. He never hides. Fair enough, he does or nothing. Every game, there's always a couple of moments that just are classic Dessers at this point. Like the overhead kick yesterday when he's a yard out. Like, we doing? But that's part of the fun with him in it. But I don't think he is the problem in this squad at all. It's certainly not mentality-wise. And I think if you have a striker that, say Danilo, I know we'll come on to Danilo at some point, but if he was a rotation option with Dessers and took the burden off him a little bit, didn't rely on Dessers so much, I think that weight off Dessers' shoulder could just improve him for further and give him a bit more consistency, hopefully. But that's a bit of the worry for me. I mean, Kieran touched on it there, where we need to sign, and I think a 6 and a 10 are definitely the priority, but I don't want to be going into games relying on Dessers long term. I don't think anyone does, because we just can't trust him. We know that he's going to have a little purple patch here and there. He's going to have a good goal of performance here and there. But when the big moments come, is he going to get us the goals? I don't think anyone in this chat, anyone watching this, would be confident in doing that. So as much as I love the guy, I'm quite keen on him to stay and have a part to play and sort of rotate that striker option with someone. We definitely need someone in there that's reliable, because, I mean, again, not spoiling later in the pod, but the Danilo stuff is just a bit strange at this point, why he's not even getting 5, 10, 15 minutes at the end of these games. Like, how unfit is he? It's a massive worry for me.
Yeah, again, certainly something we'll come on to when we're discussing the sort of Motherwell chat. But Kyran, I think it's important to say this, Boone, because don't get me wrong. I mean, I've been critical of Dessers on this podcast, but I think in moments like this, it's only fair to give him his due, because his head never goes down. The reason he gets so many chances is because he makes those chances. I know you and Ross had a really good discussion on it yesterday, and about it's his movement that creates these chances. And he did get another good goal for us in Europe. Here, I've got to say, at times he frustrates the life out of me. But I can really, really respect Dessers as a player, because there's that mentality that he has to keep going, keep in the mix. There's a lot of players at Rangers that don't have that at the minute, and I wish a few more did in our squad. What did you make of Dessers yesterday in his post-match comments?
Yeah, I'll give him credit where it's due. Like, I've been very vocal on here, like yourself, about I don't think he's the man for Rangers, because we've seen the movie before, how many times he lets us down. But yesterday, yeah, I think he deserves his credit. I think he has got absolute balls of steel. You see strikers around the world, and by all means, please don't take me out of context here. You watch Cristiano Ronaldo during the Euros miss chance after chance after chance and burst out greeting. You're not getting that for Dessers. He just starts laughing and overhead kicks to defenders right in the head.
Mental that.
Let's be honest, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. That goal is so important, it's unbelievable. But his performance yesterday was just at his Dessers best. Now, don't get me wrong, the header that the keeper's pulled off an Alan McGregor-esque save was very unlucky, so give him credit there. But there was chances, especially the one in the first half, where he's tried to take a touch where it's bounced across him instead of just hooking it into the roof of the net. It's things like that that really frustrate people, but credit where it's due. He's come up with the goods when it's counted. He's held off the defender and sort of flicked it round the corner for the build-up to Lawrence for the goal. And yeah, that's all that we'll remember. That's all that will be remembered when we look back at this game, maybe in a year's time, that Dessers' goal, like, nobody will remember how poor he was throughout the game. So, like, honestly, right, really, really honestly, I've never wanted a guy to do so well in all my life, but frustrate me so much. Like, you can't help but like him. He is a lovable big guy. It looks like he's loved around the dressing room, and his teammates seem to have his back no matter what. And a wee mention for the celebration. That was class.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It was brilliant. I don't know if you've seen the post of the guy with the that's dubbed Dessers' head over it, and then he's got the target, and it's just there's one bullseye and all the rest of the other shots I've missed, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. But a couple of comments in here. Dessers drives you nuts. He then scores. All is forgiven if he starts driving you nuts again. His all-round football ability is very, very hard to watch. And GB here says, I think this is a fantastic point. His touch in the halfway line last night to help set that goal up was amazing, and it was him that basically not started the move, but I think that was the critical pass and that whole passage of play that really, really set us going forward.
There's an element of me thinks that the defender was trying to commit the foul to break the play down, knowing that there was seconds left, and he's done very well to stay on his feet and knock it on. It's quite a hard thing to execute.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It really, really was. I'm looking for one word answer from you both here for this. There was a really good question from CGM55. Who would you rather sell, Dessers or Danilo? One is never fit and always is always fit, but is Dessers. Iain, you first.
I would still sell Dessers. I see a potential in Danilo, and I've backed myself in too many group chats at this point to back down on that. So,
Kyran.
Dessers. I'm with Iain on that one.
Guy can't win.
I've just seen enough. It's what? Sorry, mate.
The guy can't win. Scored a 94th minute.
He can't win.
And I still think I'd sell Dessers as well. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Look, Iain, I'll come to you in this next question here. And this is maybe quite a difficult question to answer, but do the fans need to be more patient in terms of the expectations? They seem to have really, really been tempered already this year. We had the Bennett interview, the chat about one in, one out, Clement new deal, lots of young players produced, talk of the project, talk of the rebuild. Do we need to show a bit more patience?
I mean, the thing that is making me want to say yes to that is that every player who's came in, I can see why they've came in. And I think they will be good long term kind of thing. We've touched on Jefté, say Černý, Barron's had a good start to his Rangers career. We're all quite excited to see Pröpper in defence. So I see the thinking, and I see the long term project that's here. Buy guys for 1, 2, 3 million, sell them on for 3-4 times that value. You kind of touch on Diomande and Cortez into that deal as well. Obviously, Cortez's injury is a big marker against that, but I can still see why they've come in. Likewise, the guys that have gone out and we've sold and we're still trying to get rid of, I don't think that's Clement's fault that there's no teams lined up to take your Matondos, your Davies, Dowell, even Cantwell and Hadger having a bit of trouble selling them. I think we can all see why. None of them have high market value. None of them have been lighting the place on fire kind of thing. So I think we all do need to have a bit of patience. And it's so easy to say when you're not in heat in the moment. But whereas when you're watching the team and you're just begging them to put some passes together, get some good football going, which we do for the goal last night. That's one of the best goals we've scored for a while. Sort of from a throw-in way in our own half to have, 6 passes and score a goal of that quality. That's what we need to see. I say need to see. That's what we want to see stages of and building towards. If we play Motherwell now and it's a slow, turgid, boring game, maybe we don't get the win, the nice way back out. But that's the nature of the beast here. That's why we're Rangers fans. It's what Rangers are as a club. It's just part and parcel of it. But hopefully we start to now see we touched on a moment ago, saying the goal can be a big bonus for the club and for the squad. It's kind of just making sure that keeps rumbling on and we just get a little bit better every game. And then we touched about it when September, October, November comes, that we're starting to kick in properly. Players are bedded in by that point, and we see the end result of these small building blocks at this point. But it's a lot easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah, I think a couple of comments in here which just totally sum the Rangers support up. Robert Robertson says, come on, this is Rangers. Patience is not in our DNA. And Jim Backs with the total opposite view says, patient, absolutely. Stop getting on the players' backs. Tav and Dessers especially. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see going forward. Kyran, before we got into the Motherwell game, I just want to touch on the wee bit of transfer news that was sort of coming in today. Rangers are rumoured to be taking Leo Castledine, I'll go with, on loan from Chelsea. 18-year-old player, played in the English Premier League 2 last year. Had 10 goals, 9 assists, 18 appearances. From the very limited amount of information I could find out about him, I saw that he was like a Jack Grealish type was the best sort of description I could see of him, but he seems to fit this sort of bill, young, got a bit of experience down in England, had a couple of first team games for Chelsea as well. But the stumbling block seems to be that Rangers want a option to buy or an obligation to buy in this deal. A lot of supporters, again, on all the links I could see in social media, were agreeing with us, saying no point in going in for this guy if we're not going to keep him long term. What's your thoughts on us being linked with this transfer? Because he is effectively a young number 10. What's your thoughts on the option obligation to buy chat as well?
Yeah, it's only positive that we're trying to get another young player in, English as well. So he's obviously a good prospect. And do you know what? See, from the player's point of view, it would probably be a very good move for him, considering that we're crying out for a 10. We don't look like budging on not playing a 10. So there's going to be opportunities for him to come in and play if that's the case. Numbers sound very good, exactly what we're after. 18-year-old, and at a club at Chelsea who are absolutely ram-packed with young talent just now. All he's got to do is look at Dujon Sterling to how you can come up here and make yourself a success, and then it's down to you what your next move is. So I think it'd be a positive move for him. If I'm an agent down there, I'm trying to move my young talent out of Chelsea, or the way the English Premiership works, where they're trying to balance the books. They just sell a youngster to one of the other Premier League teams, and financial fair play is all good and well after that. So that might be another option for him, but I think that ship's just sailed. So again, a young player coming to Rangers is definitely what we need to be doing. How many is that? Is that 5 or 6 we've brought in under the age of 22?
5 so far, aye.
Exactly the type of business that we need to be doing every single season, on working with a low budget as well, and just the hope that one of them really grows. So it is. I'm really, really positive about everything I've heard about him, but again, it's probably one of these ones that we'll just have to wait and see how it goes.
Well, that's it. Bluebells are blue here says, heard in the last hour that Chelsea lad is not happening. So we'll maybe see in that one. CJM55 says, chat as we want loan to buy. Chelsea says, nope. Scott B says, agree, we need an option to buy. And CGM55 here says Chelsea, I should agree and put a buyback clause in the deal of 50 million, which they will have behind the couch. That would be rather nice if that was true. Kyran, I'll stick with you. Well, obviously, we've not had the press conference for the Motherwell game yet, but let's chat about it. Firstly, are you looking forward to going to Hampden, or is that a bit of a loaded question?
Nobody looks forward to going to Hampden, trust me. It is what it is, and we need to deal with it. I think, is that 5 games we'll possibly have at Hampden in August now, if we can get through this next one. Let me think. So it'll be Motherwell, St Johnstone, Ross County, home tie of Kiev, and then hopefully if we can get past the Kiev game, then the home tie against whoever's in that next round. So it's probably something we're going to have to get used to. But again, looking at the game, I think that Clement should have a wee eye on Tuesday and offer a bit of rotation, especially that number 10 position. Maybe give Dessers a rest as well. Tavernier right back. I don't know if he doesn't start them or he gives them 60 minutes and brings them off. But again, Motherwell's going to be a tough team to play against. They were the one that sort of broke the mould and sort of wrote the blueprint that sent our season off the tracks last year. So they're going to be a tough test. I know that they're having their own injury crisis and they might be missing Lenny Miller. So we'll see what they bring, but we need to be prepared. And I definitely think that even the centre-back position, I'd maybe be looking to give Balogun a rest and bring Pröpper in alongside Suter. I know that might not be favourable in the chat, but I'd rather have Balogun starting alongside Pröpper on Tuesday night instead of Suter, given his performance last night. I hope I'm not being too critical there, but I thought it was poor for their goal.
Listen, we're trying to be positive about the performance last night, Kyran. Now, don't want comments like that ruining it now. But that takes me on to my next question here quite nicely. Iain, Robin Pröpper, should he start? And if he does, who misses out?
He's got to start for me because I want him starting on Tuesday night as well. So he needs to have a game under his belt. I mentioned it before about Černý, getting to know your teammates and getting to know positions and passing and stuff like that. He needs a game. So as long as his IKEA furniture's built, then hopefully he'll be starting for us. Who's beside him is a big question for me because Balogun, I don't have any fear playing Balogun. I think he is probably still our best defender without seeing Pröpper, obviously, but I don't think he can play like game to game to game. So I don't trust that he can. I don't want him to break down and then not be available for Tuesday. So I certainly wouldn't be starting him. I just feel like I don't trust Davies at all. Albeit I don't really trust Suter at this point, so I'll probably just stick with Suter just to try and get a bit of continuity going and see if he can play himself into form a little bit because I don't see us buying another centre back. So then if I'm saying that Balogun isn't fit to play game on game, I don't trust Davies at all, then Suter's the kind of best option we've got at the moment. So it's not ideal at all, but I think and hope it will be Suter beside Pröpper and they can start to build some kind of relationship because I think that is a thing with Suter. He's always looked better with a player beside him with experience who can not talk him through a game because that's pretty dismissive. That sounds like he's a 20-year-old kid, but just to kind of lead him a little bit. And obviously, if Pröpper was a captain at 20, he's got to have those leadership skills. So maybe that's just what he needs, a Golden type leader and talker beside him just to try and rule out those mistakes a little bit.
Well, that's it exactly. I think centre-back partnership is arguably the most important partnership in the whole of the pitch because if you make a mistake, that's it. It's going to create a chance and goal. I suppose if you're attacking and you make a mistake, you can always just go and try and attack again. But yeah, these guys need to know what each is doing, and the quicker that Pröpper starts, the better relationship he's going to have with his central defensive partner. Robertson here, quite a mixed bag on this. Robertson says definitely Pröpper should start in place of Suter. Jim Back says we need to manage Balogun's minutes. Scott B here says we should rest Balogun, agree, and Cafe Mambo. I wonder if that actually is the Cafe Mambo, giving us a wee shout out there, saying Pröpper must...
They're skipped to sunset to watch us three.
Well, That's it. They do say Pröpper and Cafe Mambo go hand in hand, but we'll leave that for another.
End the show that one, man.
No comment. Something we chatted about earlier on as well, Kyran, and this is one of the, sometimes I'm reading my agenda back to myself. I do have a bit of a laugh because I've just written this in big, huge letters, and it's, where is Danilo? Do you think we'll see Danilo at Hampden at the weekend?
I'd like to see him get at least half an hour. I think you can't just keep playing Dessers for 90 minutes. Like we say, he is reliable. You can give him that, and he seems to be Clement's first choice. So definitely need freshen things up there. I'm more interested in maybe seeing Igamani make a cameo. Seen him in training and stuff like that, and yeah, we've got to start looking to get these guys and bedding them in. And it's quite when you play one up front and you've got three strikers, to be that third man without anybody really getting injured, it's difficult to get minutes. You think Cedric Itten playing behind like Rufin Morelos during the 55 season, that he turned out to be a cracking striker when he got his move away to young boys. So I hope to see Igamani get minutes. I'm going to presume here that he'll probably get minutes for the B team before we see him in the first team, given what's been said about his fitness levels. So, yeah, for me, I'd like to see a wee bit of rotation up front, freshen things up. One eye on Tuesday night. We need to beat Motherwell. We need to get proper points on the board.
Oh, that's it. Oh, look, the proper jokes are just flying in from all angles, left, right, and centre now. I don't know what we started. Looking, it's that point in the podcast where I start to ask predicted lineups and all that stuff. Again, given the sort of state of flux that this squad seems to be in at this minute in time, I've got no idea who we're going to line up tomorrow. But what would you? I think the question
Kyle, sorry to butt in here. That's twice you've said tomorrow. You're a day ahead.
Yep.
No.
You're 2 days ahead.
I'm 2 days ahead. I'm just so excited for the Motherwell game because we actually got a half decent result away in bloody Poland there. Yeah, what's your lineup going to be for the weekend?
The weekend, right? Okay. It's tough, to be honest. We've mentioned before how much Clement talks about fitness and listens to his physios. So I could name a team here and it gets 10 places wrong here. But are you wanting what I would go with or what I think it will be? Because as always, they're very different outcomes.
What you want?
What I want. Okay, so we're 3-5-2, and then no. What I would want to see is Sterling right back, more so to give Tav a rest and to give Sterling minutes. So Sterling, Pröpper, Suter, as I mentioned before. I would keep Ridvan for left back. My three in midfield would be Barron, Diomande. I think it will be Lawrence. Like, again, it's not necessarily perfect, but I don't see who else can come in. I mean, we're not going to see Hadji or Cantwell or Lowry suddenly come in, and Dowell's not going to get a start. So you're kind of left thinking who else could possibly feature here if we are resting Tav and keeping Sterling out of midfield. So my three in the wing, my two wingers, I would hope Černý gets a start just to properly get him a good hour, just to see what he can do from the off. Left wing, I would play Jefté or Jefté. I'm still not sure. Ross hasn't told me the pronunciation yet. So
Jefté. I'm reliably informed that Jefté is a Jef, like a Joao in there.
Got it. He'd be my left wing, and I want to start Danilo, but I just can't see it happening, to be honest. And likewise, Igamani. Fair enough, he looked good in training because he looks like an ox in training. He's massive, so really keen to see him in the flesh. But I think it will be Dessers up front again. And as we mentioned already, hopefully he just plays like 60 minutes or so and we get a proper look at Danilo to see how he is and give Dessers at least half an hour off before the game midweek.
Yeah, I think that's similar to a lot of starting lineups there, depending on who will be fit. I'll just read out a couple here. Scott B says Butland, Tav, Suter, Pröpper, Ridvan, Sterling, Barron, Diomande, Jefté, Dessers, and McCausland. CGM 55 says Butland, Sterling, Suter, Pröpper, Ridvan, Barron, Diomande, Dowell. Although I wasn't expecting to see that name in there. Jefté, Černý, Dessers for me at the weekend. And we've had to confirm that it is not the official Cafe Mambo. But he would Sterling, Butland, Tab Pröpper. So I know, keep Balogun fresh for Tuesday, which I think is a fair point. Jefté, Diomande, Sterling, Barron, and Jefté. He's got Jefté in there twice. Kyran, on you go.
No, I don't think he was meaning Sterling there. I think he was meaning it's Cafe Mambo and Sterling. Is there a
Sterling?
Cafe Mambo and Sterling?
I don't know. Well, that's where the next This Is Ibrox night out could be, if we can all make it to Stirling. But what would your lineup be, Kyran?
If it was me picking, like I said, probably go with a wee bit of rotation, try and freshen things up. So Pröpper would come in at the back for Balogun. Right back, I'd start with Tav. I don't know how far along Sterling is with fitness-wise, so I'd probably be reluctant to start him and try and give Tav a rest, maybe an hour, try and get him off. In the middle, again, nothing much you can do. I'd be going with Barron and Diomande. In terms of Lawrence, maybe could we see Dowell in at the 10 there? Is that an option? I know that he is more of an attacking midfielder, so that could be an option there. On the left, again, Jefté. I don't feel like there's much choice, again, given the Cortez injury. On the right, again, same as Iain, I'd like to see Černý get a start, let him see him bed in properly, and Danilo up front for me. Give Dessers a rest, given that I think he'll start on Tuesday night. So, again, it's not a bad option to put in there, even if we get an hour out of Danilo, or you get an hour out of Dessers and get half an hour out of Danilo. There's got to be a wee bit of rotation. You can't just keep going to the well with this team, because we've seen what happened last year when we did. Motherwell are dangerous. They're no mugs, and I think Kettlewell is a good manager, so we will see. But hopefully enough Rangers have got enough quality across the pitch. Last question I'll ask you is before you go, have you got a wee score prediction, Iain? I'll start with you.
We will win 5-0.
Confident.
Why not? We're due to do it. I've seen this for at least 6 months. We're due to batter some teams, so let's just... Me and Jim have always been like that. This is happening.
Now we know who Kieran's burner account is on YouTube there. Sorry, Ian's burner account. Kyran, who what's your predicted score for the weekend?
I'll go for 3-0 Rangers, confident.
Yeah,
amazing how one goal changes your confidence. If you hadn't scored that last night, I'd be sitting here like, we're going to drag out a nothing each.
Ian's gone 5-0. Here's the trying Scotsman. He's put 7-1. And Scott B was something a bit more pragmatic. I think he said 2-0 Rangers. But before we wrap it up, just want to say we've had a really nice comment in there from Cafe Mambo. He says, I'm taking the way into our first game on Saturday. Absolute jobbies. It's not going to be at Ibrox, but it is what it is. So I hope you and your kid enjoy the game at the weekend. It's always an amazing experience going to Ibrox for the first time. I'm sure we can all remember it here, going on that to Ibrox for the first time. But listen, that just about wraps it up for tonight. So thanks very much, everybody, tuning in and joining. I'm sure there'll be a post-match reaction at the weekend. I think that's Tommy and Ross that might be bringing you that one. So stay tuned to that on Saturday. But just as always, thank you to my two guests, and if you can, just remember, give us a wee like, subscribe, share, turn on those notifications, and if you've seen anything you like, drop us a wee comment and let us know. But until next time, we'll see you all again soon.